What's the difference between vinyl and leather, and when should you use which one? I'm Eddie Barrett, and welcome to Atomic Cycle Works. I'm glad that you're back, or welcome for your first time. And after the 15th time this week, I said, why didn't we make a video about this? And then maybe it'll help some of the customers before they call understand the difference between vinyl and leather and when you need it, right? Some of the questions that we always run through and ask people are, do you ride your bike a lot? Do you put a lot of miles on it? There's a bike outside. Does it get wet a lot? Do you keep it covered, or is it inside? Is it a show bike? There's so many options. And the reasons we ask these questions is because we have certain materials. So if you say your bike gets wet all the time and you neglect it and you don't care about it and you're not gonna clean the seat and condition it and take care of it, we're gonna tell you to go with a marine grade vinyl. Because a marine grade vinyl will have the ones we use have 1,000,000 double rubs on it, which means you can get on and off your motorcycle 1,000,000 times before it starts to wear. They also have mildew resistant backing on the back to really cut down on the moisture and mold and stink and all that stuff that gets combined there. So that's the best for something that's neglected and super wet and gross and that you don't want to take care of. Then you have our imitation leathers, which kind of look and feel like a real leather. They have some of the characteristics, and they're kind of right in the middle, where they might have a little more, like instead of 1,000,000 double rubs, some of them have 150 to 250,000 double rubs, meaning, again, how many times you get on and off your motorcycle before the material starts to wear. They're really nice because they have a leather-like feel. They have some of the same characteristics of leather. Some of the biggest differences in the leather and vinyl is regular vinyl, when you sit on it and it's black and it's hot, it takes about a minute for it to start to cool down. Imitation leather, a little less, and then real leather, 30 seconds. It kind of airs right out. It's really nice. It's better that way. So that's one of the reasons that it's different and what's different about them. Some people will argue that a good leather is softer and more supple, and it's more pliable. And if you condition it and take care of it, it conforms to your body shape a little bit better and it stretches nicer. And we do. We have customers who their butt is so sensitive that it could feel the difference between a firm vinyl and a soft leather, or a soft vinyl and a soft leather. It's a thing, it happens. So sometimes you could get the foam on a motorcycle seat dialed right in, so it's super comfortable, and then you put the cover on it, and depending on your stitch work and the material thickness and stretchability, it really hinders on someone's comfort levels. And we have a lot of different people. Some people they've been through accidents and surgeries and had back problems and all that. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to contend to on each individual. And it really gets down to the nitty gritty sometimes of what is going to help them feel better. If you ask most people, they're going to tell you, if you don't take care of leather, it's going to crack and fade and peel and dry rot and all this other stuff. And is that true? Yes, it's true. If you do not take care of your motorcycle and do not take care of your seat, and you don't condition your leather, and in reality, you're supposed to condition your leather every 2 weeks. There was this thing I saw in a video for a leather company once that did a car leather interiors, and they said they recommended conditioning your leather seats twice a month, which is a lot. That's crazy. I always tell our customers, if you do it at the change of every season, clean it, put a good conditioner on it, pick the seat up, condition underneath it, do all that, the seat's gonna last forever. And people will knock it and say it's not true. And the reason why I said it's a good time to make this video is because we're about to do a video on a motorcycle seat that I personally did 27 years ago, which really dates me, makes me feel old. But when people say leather doesn't last, the only reason leather doesn't last is if you don't take care of it. So this leather is starting to show a little sign of where it's not as soft and supple as it used to be. It's a little bit, it's getting a little hard. This is 27 years though. Obviously this person took it off and did what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to condition the underside of the leather, because if you don't condition your leather, it's gonna dry rot. It's gonna just dry out, it's gonna crack, I don't care what you do. Or if you use the wrong conditioners, you're gonna destroy the leather. A lot of the same problems with leather and vinyl, using the wrong conditioners will actually make them prematurely fail. And you definitely don't want that. We're gonna go over that quickly as well. So if you use a good leather conditioner on real leather, and it's hard now because there's so many different manufacturers and they have creams and pastes and all this other stuff. I found if you have a conditioner that absorbs into the leather and doesn't leave it shiny, maybe a uniform, nice look, but doesn't leave it shiny. If it's shiny with a gloss, I bet you there's a 99.9% chance that that's going to ruin the leather. And obviously it's probably going to do the same thing for a vinyl, because anything that makes it shiny doesn't let the sun kind of go through and the heat go through and everything just breathe. It just kind of ricochets and beats it up until it gets this crusty finish, or it cracks to a vinyl, and it is what it is. So you got to pay attention. If you get a product that has petroleum distillate in it, never use it, because it's going to be shiny. It's going to actually almost eat up the vinyl and break it off, and God forbid you put it on your leather, it's going to destroy your leather. Things that you'll hear with real leather, people will say use like neat's foot oil or saddle soap. Never use those on your motorcycle seat, on a chrome tan seat. There's different levels of process of making leather, and sometime we're going to have a video that goes in depth with that, and hopefully someday we'll have someone who actually tans leather maybe come on and discuss it properly, so you can see how involved the tanning process is and the dyeing process. You know, there's so many different scenarios, and for us, we found that if you use anything that makes it shiny, it just ruins it, and it's done. It's going to dry out and crack and not breathe, and you need it to breathe. So this is what we found. For years, we've used one product, but they actually got bought up by another company, and now the product is not as good as it used to be. And I hate when that happens. It goes down the road, but we're actually going to be trying some different leather conditioners on it. We're going to run some tests, and then we're going to do some videos and show how it works, if it works, and if we recommend it or not. With this seat, obviously, the proof's in the pudding. You know, we don't see this a lot. Usually, a leather seat, after 5 or 6 years on a bike that you really ride, will start showing some serious signs of wear and neglect, but there's a lot that don't. And this is how, when I started doing motorcycle seats almost 30 years ago, or about 30 years ago, everything was leather. On nice bikes, you put leather on there. Vinyl, you know, you put vinyl on like a lot of the metric bikes, and you would put it on some of the bikes, but for the most part, if you had a nice bike, a decent bike, you would put leather on it because it was kind of a status symbol. You know, a nice bike has leather. You know, if you have a Harley, you'd have leather on it, and you'd want to ride it. And the leather back then was way better than the vinyls. If you remember back in the day, we had the comparison between leathers and vinyls was the Naga hides. They're really thick, they're really hard, they're grainy, they're shiny. They never had the look and feel of real leather. And so it was very easy back then to say, do you want a leather seat or do you want a vinyl seat? Because it was totally noticeable. For all the years, they have been coming up with better vinyls and better fake products to match up to the leather. A little thunder and lightning going on the side now. There's different things to contend to. So let me put this away. I'm excited with that one. And we are going to go over, once you get through and you can decide whether you're using leather or whether you're using vinyl. What we deduct right there is if you neglect your bike and you just want to leave it and not touch it, you're going to end up with vinyl. If you take care of your bike and you want something nicer and you're very particular about what you have, leather's the way to go. Well, you end up, after you decide that, the next shocking factor is we have to give the price difference. And the price difference is quite a bit. Leather's a lot more money. There's the quality of leather and the pricing of hides is so all over the place. You could get nice leather for, you know, $600, $700, $800, real nice stuff for $1,800. They do have cheap leathers that you can get for $200 or $300, but you know, the cheaper leather is usually very thin. It's a lot of imperfections, so you don't get a good yield from that leather hide. So what we'll do is we'll lay that whole hide out and then mark it for any barbed wire markings or scratches or scars or holes or anything like that. And out of a cheap leather hide, you could have a 45 square foot hide and get almost nothing out of it when you start laying your patterns. So a lot of the patterns you put on these to trace out are different shapes. So you got to fit those all in there. So then you jump to a better quality hide that might have a way better yield, only a few scars in it, and then the price goes up from there. And then there are characteristics with leather that makes it better, where some leather has a tendency to, when you work with it and sew it, to almost wrinkle up on top. And that is one thing that some people say, like the difference between a leather and a vinyl if you're trying to test it, and they do have vinyls now that do this, but if you were to take your index finger and push it right in between your other index finger and your thumb, as you push down, you'll notice the skin wrinkles, and it wrinkles all the way around there. On vinyl, it doesn't. It's a smooth hole. Leather, it does. Some of the new vinyls, they do have that do that, but I've noticed those ones, when you sew them, the top layer of that vinyl almost feels like it's loose on top of the backing and doesn't really look good sometimes. Sometimes it's harder to make it look good. There's a lot of things to learn about the look and feel and what's different about them, because they're trying to fool you. They want you to not understand what the difference is. And trust me, it does. Everybody thinks the Harley seats are all leather, and 90% of them, 99% of them are vinyl now. So now once you get through that and you say, okay, here's the difference, the price difference, right? So now you say the seat could be $500 or $1,000. So there's a big variation in pricing on it. And there's also a little bit extra in the actual production of it. So making a leather seat is different than making a vinyl seat because a leather seat stretches in every direction. Vinyl has four-way stretches, but for the most part, it's only a two-way or a one-way stretch. That makes it a different challenge to make the seat cover because you have to factor in how it's going to stretch, how it's going to pull. A leather you might leave a little shorter because you know you're going to stretch it and you want the wrinkles out, whereas a vinyl you can leave a little bit longer because you have to heat it to stretch it and pull it. There's those options. So that's a little more information that you probably didn't need to hear. Now, once you make your choices of leathers, you could decide inexpensive, mid-grain, or high-end. Prices vary dramatically between that. And that's why when we say you have to let us know if it's a rider, like you're just gonna ride around bar to bar, you ride it once a week, once a month or whatever, or if it's a show bike that you want to look the best because there is differences and reasons why you would purchase a better leather. And yes, if you're building a high-end motorcycle, I really feel leather is the way to go. It's the look, the feel, the persona, everything about it is right. It always has something a little bit better. It might only be the top 10% of the people that could see it because a lot of people can't see the difference. But when you're going to a show, even if you can't see it, other people can see it. So you want to make sure the people who can see it know it's done right. That's how we choose the leather to vinyl. Now, once you get into the vinyls, we have the same thing. There's a plethora of information needed for vinyls. Aside from color, there's shine, there's sheen. Everybody says, I want a black seat. Well, there's 50 shades of black. There's every shade is like darker, lighter, and a lot of times you don't notice it until you put up next to each other, but we're very particular. And so we can look at a motorcycle and see if it's a little bit darker or lighter, if it needs the contrast or you want it to melt in. So there's a lot of particulars you deal with there. Then there's factors like shiny or flat. Some people like a satin finish, some people like a flat finish, and some people like a shiny finish. If you have a shiny finish, you really never have to put conditioner on it because it's always shiny. From there is the look and the combination of different materials that you might put with those too, which is another thing too, is some of the Alcantaras that we use, which is an imitation suede. And it's probably one of the only times I would say imitation is kind of better than reality with that because just working with it, the consistency of it and the easiness to clean it, it's far superior. And we have been pretty much almost only using like Alcantara on our seats with leather or even vinyl. Years ago, you would only have to use suede with leather because they shrink and move together. Whereas if you did a real leather suede with a vinyl, as it dries, it shrinks and it puts the stitching holes in the leather will actually open up and then it falls apart and doesn't look right. A lot of that we learned the hard way from years of just doing this stuff, but it is what it is and we learned from those mistakes. So now with the vinyl, one of the other big key factors is when you get a leather hide, this is not a hide, this is only a tiny piece of a hide, but you can see here, even though it's cut out, a leather hide, and I know everybody's seen it, always goes around and looks like this. You have all these grooves and areas that are cut out around the belly. As it gets closer to the belly, it gets thinner, wrinklier, and it's a different grain. So if you go to like a really nice leather company, a lot of their leather hides are actually embossed very well. Like the yield is incredible where you see how this is not a nice leather. This is a cheap leather. So you can see how wrinkly it is down there. So now if you imagine doing a seat and putting your pattern here, you're gonna have a nice print up here and a horrible print down here. Even when you stretch it out, it still doesn't look right. So some of the really nice leather companies actually have more surface area with a better grain and a better yield, meaning less scars and less barbed wire markings and all that stuff. So now from there, you jump to the vinyl. Well, the big thing about vinyl is almost all of them usually come around 54 inches left to right, and you measure out per yard linearly straight, and it's almost always perfect, right? So when you talk about yield, you can put your patterns any way you want, mismatch them and do anything, and you're not gonna have to worry about trying to waste material as much as you do on leather. So for production, sometimes this is a little bit better. For me, because I've been doing this so long, I do love real leather. There's something about it, the look, the smell, when the bike's sitting in your garage, You can smell the leather. Say having a leather jacket is really nice, and if you take care of it, it stays really nice forever. So hopefully this helps make a decision up whether you're using leather or vinyl. And if you can't make your decision up, just give us a holler, shoot us an email. We can talk about it and go over it, tell you the price differences, and really pinpoint why you need what you need, because it usually comes up pretty clearly whether you need leather or vinyl. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for listening. And please remember to stay tuned and click like, share, subscribe, all that, because we have a video of us redoing the seat, and we're going to show you everything underneath here, how we did a seat 27 years ago. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? So thank you for watching. I appreciate you.